Have a good day.
Thank you. Phil Rath. Mr. Rath has time seated by Kwa Nguyen, Rachel Lang, Will Penn, and Rocky Goyal for a total of 5 minutes.
Thank you. Good afternoon, members of the council. It's nice to see you all again. For my discussion today, I'll refer you to 2 letters that were provided to you on Friday. One on Friday, one last week. One was a joint letter by 6 of us in the marijuana industry here locally, expressing our unified support on several issues I'll be talking about. The other is a legal letter from the firm of Procopio that I'll refer to in my comments as well. We provided those via email and personal delivery last week. My name is Phil Rath. I'm the Executive Director of the United Medical Marijuana Coalition. We are an association of your permitted legal dispensaries in the city of San Diego. We are the survivors of the Hunger Games, is how I like to call it, the few that made it through that process. Our interest in today's discussion is not about retail rules, and we know that. The reason we're here is because the supply system greatly impacts the costs of our products. The cost of our products impacts the price that we have to charge, and the prices we have to charge are wildly different than the black market is able to achieve, thereby making your lives more of a nightmare in trying to shut these places down. Consumers are altruistic up to a point, but if the price difference is that big, they will continue to exercise their savings by going to the black market. Try to be as to the point as possible. What we support today is option 2, if amended. We have a couple of amendments we'd like to suggest. Others have already suggested these, but I'll try and sum it up. For a cap, you have a couple of ways to go. You could have a district cap like you do for retail establishments. We have suggested that from a policy perspective, a citywide cap of 40 to 50 facilities is a much more practical matter. I recognize this is a political decision. It's above my pay grade. However, a citywide cap will be more pragmatic and more realistic for us to all get through the process. Your lands that are zoned properly are not evenly distributed throughout the city. That's just the nature of the way the zoning has worked. Second, distance separation. We would request that one item in the staff proposal option 2 be struck. They are recommending that a 100-foot separation between a dispensary and a non-retail facility be imposed. We find no reason for that to occur. It kind of unnecessarily eliminates a whole bunch of lands that could otherwise be used for these. We are unsure why that would be a risk to anyone. That one seems like a pretty reasonable request. Finally, prioritization has been a big discussion kind of as everyone has headed towards this hearing. As you'll see in our joint letter by the representatives of the industry, which we called the San Diego Cannabis Industry Coalition, the fairest way to deal with BTCs and kind of all things prioritization is to just not. There will be a queuing that occurs for people who want to get permits. There are people who have BTCs and they can jump into line. Picking favorites of who gets in line first and who gets in line second seems to be kind of an impossible task of figuring out how to do that fairly. The fairest way is to simply do what has been suggested in the staff ordinance, plus what we identify in option 2 as a method for dealing fairly with giving them 12 months in order to comply. Other unrelated issues that I need to address. Delivery has been a big topic today. I would refer you to the Procopio letter. We agree with the city attorney's office. They also opined on Friday. We're a little more specific about it. I won't put words into their mouths, but the noticing of this meeting is really important. And there is not notice for discussing or legalizing a retail use like delivery as a standalone service. It may be a debate that merits having, but it is not something that's allowable or appropriate for today. Finally, a word about labor. Labor has been kind of discussed around this whole topic, and I want to make sure everybody understands where our industry is coming from. Any cannabis-related business that is permitted by the city with a CUP is required to get a state license to operate. To get a state license, you're required to prove to the state that you have a labor peace agreement or an intent to sign one. You must file that with the state to get your license. We and everyone else who will go through your process has every intention of complying with that. There is no getting around it. And we will sign that with whomever is appropriate at the time. And that's something we're all committed to. So it hasn't been a big part of today's discussion, but I want to make sure you understand that the state law really governs that topic, and we're committed to those protections. So any other questions? Happy to answer them. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. In addition, James Anderson, Christina Cassidy, Logan Ridgway.